just a few days removed from all that, from the pay-per-view, and I'm still a little bit at a loss for words, and I don't know if that's a good thing. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 17 of Under the Middle Rope. I'm your host, Jose Tabuada, and that was a pay-per-view, and I felt like the best way to describe it is that it really was a horror show. There's so much to get into, and all the guys as well are on edge. RJ Stacey, Andrew Wolf-Woltman, Pete Atkinson, and of course I'll have more to say on what I'm saying right now in the discussion, but man, it just, I think to start us off, I think we can all agree that it was rough for the most part. The bright side is, if you want to call it a bright side, maybe not for Pete, but we do have a new Under the Middle Rope champion, because so far in the history of this podcast, since it started up in February or early March, nobody has successfully defended it in back-to-back pay-per-views. So this is just like the 24/7 championship, I guess, if that's the best way to explain it. Beats me. So the only thing that I can really say now is just sit back, relax, and enjoy our Extreme Rules Fallout. All right, everybody, welcome to the discussion. RJ Stacey below me, Pete Atkinson to the bottom right, and we're just going to get right into it. Our new Under the Middle Rope podcast champion wearing a crown. And again, if you're not watching this on YouTube, you better now. This crown has necklaces coming out of the hat. It's concerning, but I think it's apparently based off of Charlize Theron. I don't know. Wolf is your new Under the Middle Rope champion. Congratulations.
Hello.
Wolf.
Hello. It's good to be back on top.
Yeah, so I'm so disappointed in this because so
Go on, RJ, go on.
so I'm just like the pay-per-view had ended. I knew that me and Wolf had tied, and Jose's like, yeah, just waiting for the final calculations. He comes to me and he goes, man, congratulations, you have won. And I'm like,
No!
I get to it, and I'm like, but before I had answered, he had already corrected himself. So like before I could answer, he goes, congratulations. And I haven't even answered yet. And then he goes, oh, sorry. Like, actually, I thought you were the second column. Wolf is actually the second column. And Wolf is actually the champion.
Oh, dear.
And I didn't even get a chance to like be happy because I saw it like all in one swoop. And I'm like, man.
To back up RJ's words, let's go to the graphic for those that are watching on YouTube. Yes, I thought that RJ was in that second column beside my name, and no, RJ was third. By tiebreaker, Wolf becomes your champion here. The estimated time was 18 minutes and 46 seconds, as close as I could possibly get, because we never found an official time. But of course, Wolf guessed 22:30. That sealed him the win. For the most part, everybody nearly got a clean slate. I know RJ and Wolf technically did with the United States Championship match voided, which we'll get to in a bit. And there's obviously the yellow question mark with Oscar. We're going to get into that too. But by my error, I thought that RJ was champion. And I was like, wow, for the first time since RJ and I podcasted back in 2017, he's done it again. No, he's not. But nonetheless, Wolf is a champion. He goes into SummerSlam as the podcast champion, or in his favorite phrase, the biggest party of the summer.
That's not my favorite phrase. How dare you? Although, can I just say something? I'll keep it quick. But when I was on the middle school wrestling team, I was in a match, and we went 3 rounds. And at the end, the referee raised the other guy's hand. And then, like, one of the coaches was like, wait a minute, no, it's the other guy. And like, oh, sorry. And then raised my hand. And the other... And I felt so bad, but that was my only win on the wrestling team.
Wow.
I didn't even know you were on a wrestling team. Good on you.
I was not good. I was 1 in 12.
I was going to say, you won at least one match.
One.
I won 1 match on points.
And the one match was because you were accidentally crowned the loser?
No, it was because I won by points, but we were on the same team. And we had like a red wristband and a green wristband, and I had the green wristband, and he didn't realize that the green wristband was ahead on points. So, oops. This isn't the first time I've won on X, after the wrong person was told they won.
Well, RJ, sorry again, and we'll see what happens come SummerSlam, which is about 4-6 weeks now in time. Let's get to the pay-per-view. First of all, I just want to go around asking everybody, because just to be straight up production-wise, I recorded the intro before, and I said that everybody was on edge with this pay-per-view, and I don't know if that's true, So I'm gonna start with RJ. Your thoughts on the pay-per-view before we get into the match by match?
Overall, I thought like obviously the stipulations were pretty whack, and some of the finishes were a little. I mean, I'll get into that. But I thought the match quality was fine. Like I thought the Asuka and Bailey matches were both. Well, the Bailey match wasn't great, but her match was like it was fine with Nikki, and then the Asuka and Sasha match was really good. I thought, and then I also thought, despite the ridiculous stipulation and the very, we'll get into the ending.
Yeah,
I thought that the actual match was like a fine little like hardcore like street fight. I thought it was okay. But yeah, overall it was like forgettable.
Okay. Pete.
I thought this pay-per-view was dreadful.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely dreadful. I had low expectations going in, and they managed to not hit those expectations. So I think it was the worst pay-per-view of the year by any company. And actually, Elimination Chamber was pretty bad.
I was gonna say, I think there was one that I really didn't like.
Yeah, I think the Chamber.
I think this was still worse. Like the Chamber match was kind of killed by a bad main event. This was just killed by terrible booking, in my opinion. And it's not just because New Day lost.
We'll also get into that very shortly.
The was atrocious. I think the show was atrocious, and like I said, I went in. I basically was planning to stay up and watch this thing, and I cashed out halfway through because I was so annoyed. Watched the rest of it in the morning, and I'm glad I cashed out early. Let's put it that way.
Wolf, you are a champion, but I'm sure it's by the nods of your head, even though you are a champ, you do agree with the.
This show was terrible. It was total crap. You know, what does it say when it's on the same weekend as an Impact pay-per-view, and that one was better? Like seriously, not counting Super Showdown, this was the worst pay-per-view of the year.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that one, so don't.
Well, I didn't see it either, but I can just smell Super Showdown.
Yeah, like I would say, I absolutely crapped on Dominion like a few weeks back, and I thought that was a bad show. And that show was basically like the greatest ever WrestleMania compared to this.
The worst New Japan show is still better than some of the best WWE shows.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
we can agree.
This show is just terrible. I do want to say, really quick shout out to Deonna Purrazzo for becoming the Impact Knockout Champion in what was truly the match of the weekend for me. Not just because she's my favorite one of my favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo with everybody before we get into the match rundown, and I have to give props to people that just they're like not somewhat like RJ, like they kind of like emphasize RJ's points a little bit more. Not saying that like RJ is an exception to this, or RJ is an exception to this, but there were people that are trying to be like as optimistic as they could about this show, like I thought the matches were great if it just wasn't for this and that, and again I know
they weren't great.
I know it sounds like I'm not completely bashing RJ because I know RJ's being more critical standpoint, but I'm talking about the people that just loved tried to find as many positives as possible. The matches were fine if it wasn't for the ending, this and that. I'm like, people, let's step back for a bit because you gotta understand that there was a lot of it that was just like, and we're gonna get into that. And we're gonna get into the first questionable moments because there are a lot of them, but the first one was the United States Championship situation, because originally it's supposed to be Apollo Crews versus MVP, and in fact, if it wasn't a tiebreaker that determined that was going to be the deciding factor for Wolf and RJ, it was going to be this match because Wolf picked, let me get this right, Wolf picked MVP, RJ picked Apollo. However, the match was canceled due to what Tom Phillips is quoted on as Apollo Crews failing his pre-match physical, which unfortunately led to everybody on social media, including among us, saying it is just another way to say COVID, which of course, obviously, we hope that's not the case. It's sad that we assume that it is, but MVP from there just crowned himself United States champion. Again, like this is just one of those throwaway moments where you're like, okay, great, he's champion. I don't know what else to say. Wolf?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what the whole point of this was. I mean, obviously, you hope Apollo Crews doesn't have COVID. That's what I hope no one has COVID. But I would have, if that was the situation, I'd appreciate if they were just open and honest, like AEW is when it comes to something like that. Which, okay, fine. You do what you can when something like this happens, and I get it. But also, there was really no point to this segment other than MVP coming out and just doing a half-rate Taz promo claiming he was the champion. I mean, he did what Taz did on AEW, just worse, like when Moxley couldn't show up. So I don't know why we didn't just like have two people come out and challenge him and Lashley to a tag match. I mean, it's not like the show was like going over anyway, so we could have just filled that with some time.
No, that finished just under 3 hours, like about 9:30ish, 10 o'clock-ish Eastern time.
Granted, I got to watch another episode of Gilmore Girls before bed, but the point is, I feel like we just didn't really utilize the time here efficiently. I'm not sure exactly what the point of this was. We could have just announced it, or like given an update on Apollo Crews' status if he failed the physical fine, but fill the time with something. There's a bunch of people there.
You know, before we get to Peter and RJ, I will say, like, I do appreciate and respect the privacy, because I'm sure people, I know, like, you have like policies, like for example, in the MLB and the NHL, saying that one of their biggest policies is players have a right to keep that private, and I understand that because it is such a heavy thing in the first place. So like, you know, you don't want people getting all like riled up. Well, sports shouldn't be happening, this and that, blah blah blah. Probably the same thing. WWE doesn't want like that drastic amount of heat, and I understand that. Of course, WWE, however, has not approached this in the best way possible. Pete?
Yeah, I think I agree with Wolf, because I got a lot of respect for AEW when they basically were really upfront and honest about Moxley, and they basically went, "Oh, he's having to deal with this. He's having to isolate for a while. He can't come to the shows. It's going to be delayed by 2 weeks." Like, that's fine. Like, full respect to that. Like, there's no issue with saying, you don't even have to say Apollo has COVID, but if he does, just say something along the lines of, "We're taking safety precautions. We don't want to take any risks at this point. Therefore, the match isn't going to happen. We're delaying it. We're going to have it on Raw in 2 weeks' time," or whatever. And they surely must have known this before the show as well. And that kind of bugs me a little bit, because going into the show, they must have known he's not there. So fill in a replacement, like have, I don't know, MVP versus Ricochet or whatever you want to put in there. Have a match or announce it up front. It's another one of those advertising something when you know you're not going to deliver it, and that always irks me a little bit. So yeah, I think I agree with that. And when this happened, I was like, "Oh, great, fine." And as you said, I expected the tag match to happen when they both stood in the ring. I think MVP was in his ring gear and stuff as well.
He was. We all were saying, "Okay, here comes a match." Yeah. So I was expecting the tag match. I was expecting MVP and Bobby Lashley versus Cedric Alexander and Ricochet, and that would have been fine. Or, considering what happened on Raw, that might have been a better time to re-debut Mustafa Ali and bring him out there. That might have been a better way to do it, rather than in a nothing segment on Raw. So there's things they could have done, and it was a bit disappointing. Yeah. RJ?
Yeah, until I was gonna say that's like if they were gonna just debut Mustafa the next day on Raw anyway, why couldn't they have filled that time slot? Because they had a decent 6-man tag on Raw last night. Like, it was a watchable-ish for Raw match. If you're gonna watch for Raw matches on Raw, it was fine. Like, why couldn't they have filled 10-15 minutes of that instead of just, you know, having him come out? They still could have given MVP the title. He still could have said that he was the champion, and then I don't know. But on the privacy thing, like, if somebody wants to keep it a secret, I'm fine with them keeping it a secret. But it's when the WWE, like Vince, is like actively like, "Oh no, you can't say a thing. Like, you can't say a thing." Whereas AEW is being like pretty open with the people that want to know. So it's something like that where I'm kind of understand both sides, but Vince keeping them secret on purpose is pretty shady. But yeah, this was a nothing segment. This was ridiculous, and you guys have said pretty much everything anyway.
All right, so let's move on from that, because again, it was weird. We're gonna move on to a match that was added on last minute, which of course, you know, when it comes to these prediction tables, and one of the rules that we do say, which I forgot to bring up last week, is if a match is added onto the main roster, it will be part of the predictions contest. The Jeff Hardy, Sheamus, of course, never ended up happening, so those ended up being a perfect replacement. And before I wrote up the graphic and tweeted it out, Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, RJ, Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, Wolf, Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. And Pete with the utmost confidence. And Pete, we're going to start with you. Pick
So I'm going to explain how I think this went.
Just to emphasize, cost him that podcast title.
Oh, yeah. I was so confident. So I plotted this out like Despicable Me style. So in my head, I have. Face gets put through table. That's what happened. Heels win the match. They get to pick the stipulation. That is what happened. Faces now look weak in advance of the pay-per-view events. This is perfect happening. And then final step, heels win the titles.
I love this. This was funny in Despicable Me.
That's it. That's exactly
I steal the moon.
We, like, everything in this build-up pointed to a New Day win. And WWE is very predictable when they do these style builds. When you put the faces through the table in the build-up and the heels never go through a table in the build-up, that means the heels go through the table on the pay-per-view. That's how it works. Like, everything in what WWE has taught me for the last however many years told me New Day is winning this match. I was so confident. I was saying I would have put money on New Day winning this match. I was that confident in how WWE books things. And even in the go-home show, the heels won on the go-home show. They won to pick the stipulation. They prevented their teammate getting put through the table on the go-home show. They teased Cesaro going through the table on the go-home show. They teased it. And then they didn't give me it.
Stop it!
I'm so annoyed by this result. Because WWE let me down. The match was fine, though. So that was all right.
I have nothing else to follow up on that. RJ and Wolf, I don't know if you guys want to. It's your choice, but I'm just going to leave that as is. Because
RJ, you go first.
RJ?
Yeah, match was okay. I thought that it was. I was like pretty confident that Cesaro and Nakamura were winning this match. So I mean, I just thought it was just time for their random Cesaro pairing championship run. It just felt like it was about that time. New Day's had the titles for a little bit now. Cesaro always kind of gets a random tag partner sometimes. He becomes a tag team that's okay and wins the titles. And, it just seemed like there was that time. And the match was fine. And I love Cesaro and Nakamura. So I'm happy with the result as well. So there we go.
Wolf, any comments?
I really appreciate that Pete brought charts. And he grouped explaining his plan to steal the moon in Despicable Me. I sit on toilet. What? No. I'd say your logic was sound. It's just, except it's the New Day. Whenever they have,
Day.
Yeah, but listen, it is the New Day. They have all the reigns in the world, so they're always gonna feel like a transitional champion at this point.
Yeah, but they're always the team that WWE turn to when they need to turn to someone.
Okay, and they decided that it was time for Nakamura and Cesaro. New Day was just holding it for them. You can't get from Miz and Morrison to Cesaro and Shinsuke.
And it's also worth noting that WWE has never trusted Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura with anything.
Well, maybe they found out that you didn't trust them too, so you're like, oh, well, Pete would have money on this. Get that belts on them, God damn it.
And also, you got Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. They're basically a discount the bar tag team from a few, basically, because the bar was a fantastic tag team. And Sheamus is on SmackDown. You could have literally just had it go to the bar instead, and you have a ready established tag team.
To be fair, Sheamus is already going to the bar.
Yeah, let's say Sheamus is too. Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Man, this boy.
Please tell me you have more charts ready.
I do not.
I can't wait for the top 10 moments of Under the Middle Rope in December because this is going in there.
I spent way too long on that one. I'm not doing
crap.
Wow, that was great. Let's move on. That's all I can say. Let's move on. Pete, thank you for that, and thank you for picking the New Day, and thank you for presenting us with your logic because the show needs it sometimes, and you definitely provided it for us at your expense.
Call me when you're ready to steal the moon.
To the SmackDown Women's Championship.
I'm gonna get to that.
Bayley and Nikki Cross, very straightforward match. Bayley retaining it with the help of Sasha Banks with her brass knuckles, I believe. I'm not gonna lie, that's the one time I just decided to get up and use the facilities, and I come back and the match is over. So I'm sorry, but Bayley wins, continues that reign. If anything, the biggest talking point, at least with Bayley and Sasha, is the next match. But very quickly, I think Nikki Cross looked spectacular. She definitely was keeping up with Bailey, which is great. But again, it was one of those matches, like a few others, that like you kind of just knew that Bailey was gonna win. It's unfortunate, so it is what it is. Wolf.
Not really much to say about this match. It was fine. It wasn't spectacular. Not a lot of Michigas. I mean, no stipulation, no wacky ending. I just kind of thought it was there. You know, I didn't really have any big thoughts towards it because we knew Bailey was going to win. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Pete?
Yeah, this match was all right, but I think I was still too busy ranting and fuming about the match beforehand to pay full attention to it. I'm busy drawing up charts and graphing out exactly there. Yeah, it was fine. It was a classic Bailey cheats to win. That's what Bailey does. Yeah, it was what I expected this match to be.
RJ?
Yeah, this is one that just kind of, it is what it is. It was fine for what it did. You kind of knew that Bailey was going to win. You didn't think it was going to be that great of a match. It wasn't that great of a match. It was fine. And I thought it was all right of a Nikki showcase. I thought she looked okay, and I really like her too, but the match was just whatever. And right winner, it's just you kind of knew what was going to happen.
Right. And that being said, let's go into again like the probably one of the more bigger talking points of the night. If any, you could argue it's the biggest talking point of the night. The Raw Women's Championship, Asuka versus Sasha Banks. We all picked Asuka. And once again, when it comes to a women's championship on this podcast, whenever everybody predicts the same person, it doesn't happen. Or in this case, it may have. Asuka tried to green miss Sasha Banks, missed, got the referee. Bailey decides to get in the ring, take off the referee shirt, put it on herself, hit Asuka with the tag title, the women's tag title, have Sasha pin Asuka, which Bailey counted herself, which somehow led to believe that she is now the new Raw Women's Champion. Obviously, the next night on Raw, Stephanie McMahon announced that next week Asuka and Sasha are gonna have a proper match for that belt because Asuka is still technically the champion, but technically we are like in those waters of like Sasha and Bailey holding everything, which is a interesting dynamic. I don't think anybody would have predicted. RJ, let's start with you on this. Your thoughts on the weird ending? I mean, on the match itself. Go for it.
Okay, so this match was the reason that I thought, well, like the only real reason that I thought this pay-per-view was like pass-ishable. I thought this match was really good. And I loved the ending. And I know I'm the only person who says that, but I loved the ending. I couldn't stop laughing when Bailey put the shirt on, and I was entertained. I know that it was super overbooked, and I know that sometimes you guys don't like super overbooked, but I thought it was overbooked to like a creative way. And I thought it would be even better if they took it the next day and like showed vignettes of like Bailey like getting a ref license like in promo packages. Like she was just working towards getting a ref license the whole time. Comes in with like, yeah, I'm a ref, it's fine. But yeah, no, I always kind of figured that Sasha was still gonna, or I thought that this was maybe the most possible title change other than the tag match, because we didn't actually talk about the tag match. But I didn't expect it to go down like this. And I actually I thought the ending was creative. I'm going to be the only person I think that says that, because it doesn't seem like a popular opinion whenever I brought it up. But I liked the match. I thought it was really good. I thought it was pretty technically good. And I like both performers. And I thought that the ending was actually pretty creative, personally. So, yeah, roast me, boys.
Pete?
I will actually say, if they had done the vignettes on Raw as RJ just described, and they had Bailey training to be a referee and all that kind of stupid stuff, I would have completely forgiven it. I would have completely backtracked, U-turned, and I would have gone, that's all absolutely fine. As you said, the match itself was in the process of being a brilliant match. And then I feel like they constructed this perfect match. Like imagine like an ice cream sundae. So you build this great thing, you get all the mixture of flavors, you put your chocolate sauce on there, you put your sprinkles on there, you put your nice little flake in the top, or whatever equivalent you have in America. And then someone just pissed on it. And you have that nice little ice cream sundae, and you just killed it. That's how I feel about this match, because I hated the ending. I was so into this match. I was enjoying it. I thought it was fantastic. Asuka, Sasha, obviously two of the best women's wrestlers around. But then this ending just doesn't make any sense to me. Why did you put on the shirt in the first place? Like, you know you're not an official referee. Just count it, order the guy to ring the bell, and do whatever. You don't need to actually grab the shirt off the guy's freaking back. Do second referees just no longer exist? Like every time, like in the past, when a referee goes down, after a while, someone makes a pin, a referee comes running out of the back and comes out and make the pin, and usually they're too late, and that's the whole catch. Like, it took the time for the referee to get there, that gave them the time to kick out. And does restarting the match not exist anymore? Either. Instead, we just went, oh yeah, it's no contest, we'll have a rematch in a week or so. Like, no, just restart the match. You've just seen what happened. Everybody has seen what happened. Like, you've just seen the referee get taken off, and someone who's not a referee count a pinfall, order the timekeeper to ring a bell. Like, come on. It's just not.
Everyone's at home. Yeah,
everybody's at home.
We're pandemic, Pete.
They're short on personnel back there, man. They've all got COVID.
Oh,
you had other referees refereeing other matches. Yeah, I hate the ending. I hate the ending.
Wolf?
I'm going to say that officiating in WWE has totally gone to since they got rid of Mike Chioda. But, yeah, I guess, beating up a referee, taking his shirt and counting a pin is totally fine. That's totally how matches work. Obviously they did this because the ratings for Raw are down and they want people to tune in the next night, and then they want people to tune in next week for the match. Like, that's the reason why Big Show and Randy Orton wasn't on the show. They wanted to save that for Raw. They want to get those numbers up. That's purely, I hate talking about ratings. I hate it. But it's no denying that that's a lot of what's driving their decisions right now. So, yeah, it was a unique finish. I'll give it that. It's kind of like Thanos saying, fine, I'll do it myself. 1, 2, 3. So, yeah, I can appreciate that they subverted a norm. I just wish that it made some sort of sense, but also I guess I shouldn't be watching wrestling if I want things to make sense. Otherwise, the match was fine. It was a great match up until whatever the hell that was. That's all I got.
If you ever want to have a lovely conversation with Wolf, just talk to him about the AEW and NXT ratings. It's always a wonderful time with Wolf. But no, you know what? Wolf beat me to it. As much as I was bugged by it, because if you want to apply logic to wrestling, yeah, technically referees do run out of the back. I mean, who can forget Charles Robinson's run for WrestleMania 24 and Edge and Undertaker sprinting down the ramp and sliding in to get the pin, right? It's like, where was that? I get that, but I did find it unique. It's like, oh wow, how has nobody else thought of just taking off the ref's shirt and just using it to make themselves a ref? Which,
wait, we can do that?
Exactly. So, but yes, I did think it was an entertaining match. It's just like, I guess I'm just so used to the fact that I've seen a lot of good WWE matches ruined by ridiculous endings. Like, I remember when Wolf and I were at the Raw after Mania in Brooklyn, Seth and Kofi was having a time of our lives. It was going really great. And then, no, you were not.
Rub that in.
No, you were not. It was with Alex Mears and his friend. I am so sorry. But the point is, Seth and Kofi having a great match, title for title, and then Cesaro and Sheamus ruining it, and the whole crowd was mad. So you've become indifferent to this at this point, and it is what it is. So we'll see what happens. And yeah, it probably was for ratings. I think that's another great point. That, again, I'm a big guy that loves to talk about ratings, because I think ratings are important. Ratings are big. Without the ratings, your show goes under the tank. We've seen it with a lot of other shows that are not sports, right? So, not much else to say, but just like, I agree with nearly everybody's points. So, moving along here. Oh God, that's what's next. Okay.
We all know what's next.
Yeah, I mean, looking at my rundown list, and the guys know it too. It's, oh my sweet mother! It is the Rey Mysterio Seth Rollins eye for an eye match. Can somebody go first? Somebody else go. Pete, go first. You start. Somebody.
Well, if you think I was going to I had a rant about the first match, you might want to strap yourselves in. So, this is maybe my most hated match within about the last 3 years.
Wow.
I really, really despised this match. everything about it was just so bad and illogical and awful. And it's not the wrestler's fault. I'm going to emphasize that. Well, it's somewhat, but for the most part, it isn't. One of the big issues I had is this is meant to be basically a blood feud where you're meant to be taking out the guy's eye and we're hitting Irish whips, frog splashes, not toe holds. It's like, guys, what are you doing? Why is Rey Mysterio going on the top rope to hit a frog splash? Go and try and gouge his eye out. That's what you're meant to be doing. And then point B, you've got all these people who are involved in this feud, and suddenly your friend's eyeball is at stake, and nobody interferes. Nobody gets involved. Don't give me the crap that Kevin Owens and Buddy Murphy were taking out on the pre-show. They were
Where's
not.
Dominic?
Where's Dominic?
Buddy
That's
Murphy.
the question you should
Dominic
ask.
wasn't there.
He was with his
Where's
real
Alistair
dad.
Black? He didn't get involved either. He waits till the next night after his mate's already lost his eye. No wonder no one came out to help him. And then the worst thing about this match, commentary. Commentary on this match was disgraceful. Like, they are just calling this match as if we're having a normal one-on-one singles match. They should be disgusted and horrified about what they're about to witness. And suddenly everything has a point. It's like, you got Michael Cole going, oh, he's using the point of the chair. No, that's the chair leg. He's using the point of the kendo stick. He's using the point of the table. He's using the point of everything. Stop calling things having a point when they don't. So you have all that going on, and then also bloody selling moves. Why does suddenly a 619 hit the eye? It's never hit an eye in the past, and suddenly he gets hit by a 619. He sells the eye. They get hit by drop toe holds. They're holding the eye. It's like these moves don't hit an eye. If this was just an Extreme Rules match, a normal Extreme Rules match, I'd have probably been fine with it. But it wasn't an Extreme Rules match. And then when Ray actually lost his bloody eye, supposedly, he's barely making a noise. He should be screaming in agony. He should be on the floor, like convulsing in pain. There should be people out there. The only person who had a semi-realistic reaction was Seth vomiting.
That was hilarious.
Like, commentary were like, oh, that's the match. He's lost his eyeball. Right, shall we move on? What's next? Come on. Keep going. Oh, I hated this match so bloody much. And then also the finish, he jams his head into like the steel stairs as they've been doing in the whole build-up. Why does that cause an eye to pop out the front? That's not how body parts work.
Jack, you hate the mechanics of it.
Everything about it.
Call a biologist.
If you were going to do this type of match and go for stupidity, go full on stupidity. I was saying, like, go for something stupid and try and wrap a piece of string around his eye and yank it out like a tooth, as you would a tooth.
Oh no!
You just made him sick.
Yeah, go on. He's right. He's right.
I said if you want to go full on stupidity, start recruiting people into Seth's cult. You had Devon on the pre-show. Go and get Devon out there. Bring out Reverend Devon to join his cult. And then have Seth shouting him and go, Devon, get the eyeballs! And just suddenly charge at him. That's what we need in this stupid match. I don't want like realism that you don't treat realistically. Either do shit or treat it seriously. I just hated it. Someone else go.
I'll go.
Wolf.
I'm really sad that we never got to see the Lucha Underground version of this match, because you know it would happen on the base of a pyramid and then they would toss the eye into a cage that Jeff Cobb is sitting in and he'd eat it. Because that's just how Lucha Underground worked. It was so stupid and zany, but they just went with it and everyone was on board because they didn't pretend to be something they weren't. Yeah, but this, oh my God. Everything Pete said and the fact that the bell rings and then you just casually hear Samoa Joe say, "It's out." Like, that's it. It's out. And then I don't know why we had to cut to Seth Rollins throwing up. It felt like watching, the scuba scene from Jackass 2. Like when after.
Can we not? No.
The point is, like, I don't know exactly what I expect. This is like Michael Bluth finding the bag in the freezer that says "Dead dove, don't eat." Well, I don't know what I expected. Like, I don't know what any of us really expected from this. I mean, they kind of just did what they said they were going to do, and we all knew all along it was going to be stupid. So I'm not disappointed. I commend them for not going completely, CGI Scooby-Doo on the eyeball. Like, it was just kind of the weird little jelly thing that popped out a tiny bit you saw. So Pete's biological impossibilities of how that happened aside, they didn't go too gross with it, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't think I could have stomached much worse than seeing a rubber eyeball for like a brief second through his glove. So
I'd have sleight of hand kill build it. So just
the point is,
just snatch it out and then you just sleight of hand the eyeball forward in your hand.
This was a match that happened. I don't know what any of us expected, but we got what they promised, and it was just let's never talk about it again after RJ goes.
Yeah, RJ.
Okay. Yeah. So I just when I said that this match quality would have been okay, despite the stipulation earlier, I meant like if this actually was an Extreme Rules match, like Pete said, it might have been fine because I think that Seth and Ray they worked hard enough to try and have an okay match, but it just doesn't make sense because for pretty much everything Pete said. So his rant pretty much is good enough for me. Another thing is, why was this match I guess we're kind of moving past the cinematic stage at this point, but I felt like this one was not going to be live because they could have done a better job at making it less fake when the eye came out. So I was very surprised when we saw that it was live when it came on because I was expecting it to be taped to make it a little better than that. So that was very disappointing because it ended up looking like even faker. And if you look at the photos and stuff or you replay it, you can see just how bad the finish is. So aside from that, they absolutely need to move on from this feud, even though Seth's just facing Alistair the next night anyway. We need to see Seth face some new people. He needs to move on from this whole thing. Both need to move on from this whole thing. However, I actually thought Seth PK was kind of funny. So,
it's funny because it's funny how RJ brings up Seth needs to face new people. Yet if it for some odd reason now it feels like an eternity ago that Seth Rollins was competing for the WWE Championship at Money in the Bank. I showed to Pete and Wolf here. I want to show a friend of mine and bless. Oh man!
Oh no!
Bless her soul. I love her to death. She's one of my closest friends ever. She sent me these text messages. She sent me this Monday saying, "Oh my goodness, did this actually happen? I'm going to puke." And I said I was going to rant about it, which I will in a bit, and said it was staged. And then she actually, once I said it was staged, she actually asked me, is it real or is it fake? And I said, it's fake, but they quote unquote made it look real. So if they got you, it worked.
Look real.
They got TMZ. The same people that stalked Paris Hilton.
And she got it from the TMZ article. And again, bless her soul. One of those friends I just just so great to me, and this happens to her, and I'm like, oh no, how do I explain this to somebody who was a very casual WWE fan back in the day, and explain this now with Rey Mysterio? I don't know how else to explain it. So that was that, and she know who she is, so bless her soul. I mean, Pete said it best, but I think it was. I mean, aside from the mechanics, aside from the whole process of it, it's just the whole thing was just dumb, I mean, in the match, it could have been Extreme Rules match, but it just felt so lackluster. The whole thing felt so lackluster because it's like wait, they're actually doing this. And I remember one of our friends in our group chat, he asked us, hey, so can you guess what the match is? And Pete said for fun, eye for an eye, and he's like, yeah. And then we all thought he was kidding. Then we realized, no, he's serious, right? And it's like I said last week, at what point do you stop defending WWE and say it's entertainment, it's part of the show, it's just WWE logic, it's just WWE booking, and which means that you're still saying, okay, it's okay for this app because it's WWE, but it's still wrestling. Shut the up. That's it, man. This was just atrocious. This was just bad. The ending was stupid. Props for Rollins for either legitimately throwing up or somehow weirdly having that on standby. I don't know. I don't know what the heck was that, but
I assume he just poured something into his mouth while the camera was off, and then
or two fingers,
or
I hope he did not do that.
Neither do I.
Like you could just
I'm
like
assuming it's like a
Casey
little
Catanzaro
spot
behind the glass, like Seth, what are you doing, Jesus?
It needs to be real.
Can we also be a bit fair to Seth though? Like everyone was giving him a load of shit after the match. Like all of the NXT people going, "This is horrible. Look what you've done in that." It was Ray's idea for the match. Ray proposed the match. Seth just won it. He didn't do anything wrong from actually the match standpoint.
And again, you could go off of Pete's mechanics. Why didn't anybody else step in? You could have anybody from the NXT crowd just take off their masks, jump over the barricade, and stop Rollins from like quote unquote getting Ray's eye out. I don't know, Wolf. What you want to quickly add?
I just want to say, like, the best part was last night on Raw, how Seth is cutting a promo and says Rey Mysterio, and then somebody in the crowd yells, "Can't see!" And two things about that. One, Seth broke like Jimmy Fallon with sneezing powder. And two, that was an NXT talent that said that. That was somebody WWE has control over.
I'm assuming it was Bugenhagen because later on in the night as well, when Drew was out in the ring and they're doing the stipulation thing with Dolph again, and when he goes, "I get to pick the stipulation," and he just shouts out, "Eye for an eye!"
You know, if crowds never come back, please keep him.
Exactly. Point. I mean, oh god. Point is, I mean, like everybody's already said it, but it's just like I said, and I do want to put this right. It is time to stop saying it's just WWE logic. It's okay because we expect WWE to do this crap. No, we've seen WWE do much, much better things. With way better quality, way better booking. Just stop. That's all. I don't want to go in for it because last week I went off, and again, this is just sad. So just shut your mouth. No, I'm just saying, like, just shut your mouth and just start giving WWE, put WWE on a higher pedestal, and not just stay where you at. Expect better. You always like with your closest people, you always want them to be better. You know, like I know you can be better than this. You can say that about WWE. I know you can be better than this because we've seen it in the past. So moving on, just utter garbage. That's all I can say. We're going to move on to the Wyatt Swamp fight. I don't know if we should be doing this now, but because this was technically the main event. We're going to talk about it now. The Wyatt Swamp fight. That's another big what the fuck to start. It was cinematic, and I know we've seen the cinematic stuff with Bray Wyatt, but I'm going to start off by agreeing with a lot of people that this cinematic just wasn't as top-notch as the Firefly Funhouse from WrestleMania, or the Boneyard match from WrestleMania, or the Money in the Bank ladder match from Money in the Bank. The Fiend comes out in a lake of blood at the end of the whole thing, which we expected the Fiend to come back in some shape or form. I mean, I will say that given that I hate horror stuff, I actually jumped at some of those cutscenes, like when the little graphic at the end, the copyright at the end where Braun Strowman thinks that was it, boom, pops out the hand. That scared me. I just get scared easily. I don't like horror stuff, so here we are. And again, I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm at a loss for words with half of the stuff on this pay-per-view, other than just, all right, cool. Wasn't on par, and Braun Strowman isn't cut out for cinematic, in my opinion. I don't see it. This guy just stick to the live stuff as opposed to cinematic. I don't know. I don't think he's good when he's being directed or he's been put in a situation to, I guess, act. But it just wasn't cutting it in for me. RJ.
Yeah, so I've mostly been a fan of the Bray cinematic stuff, like I said last week, and I thought that I was going into this with an open mind. I just think it missed completely. Like I thought this was pretty bad. The whole I thought the part where Braun was beating up Braun was kind of cool. Like I thought that was kind of interesting. But and then the rest of it though, like the whole Alexa thing, like is it supposed to be a thing that Braun's into Alexa? Were they not just like tag team partners? Is he in love with her like secretly? Did we just find that out? Like that was just odd to me.
And their defense
come with me,
that,
Braun. Like you always wanted me. Like, and I'm like, okay, that's new.
In their defense, during the mixed match challenge, we've seen like some teasing here and there, and and for some odd reason, everybody shipped it. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, please!" Which, looking back, you're like, "Oh, okay." And then
teasing on a few Smackdowns and Raws.
They teased it, but they never really acknowledged it as like.
They never acknowledged it. No, it's just like.
I think they teased it this Friday.
They did, yeah.
And then like just
was
like,
it? No,
there we are.
Just want to, before RJ goes on, I also want to point out that I just found it kind of funny that a lot of people were now saying that Alexa Bliss is going to be Sister Abigail moving forward, which again is just ridiculous. RJ, continue with your thoughts before we get on to everybody else. RJ.
Yeah, I just think the whole thing missed the mark. I, on the other hand, actually did not get swerved by the graphic coming up, but I think that's just because I really did not want Braun Strowman to win. So when it came up, I'm like, oh no, this is much too early. Like, this is much too early. Bray's coming out. And then they both went in, and I'm like, oh, like, no contest, maybe. And then Bray comes up as the Fiend, so I guess he wins. But yeah, overall, like, missed the mark on this one. This one was, like, House of Horrors bad, in my opinion. Like, this wasn't
good. Pete?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was quite as bad as House of Horrors. I think it was average, I guess. But when you saw what the Firefly Funhouse match was, that was excellent. This was okay, in my opinion. Like, I think by cinematic matches, I think there's been worse when I think about the tag team match at Backlash. And I think there's been significantly better as well. And I think they are getting to the point where they're overdoing it, and people were worried that they were going to do it too often, and because it hit once. In terms of, I just want to touch on Jose's point a bit earlier about WWE acknowledging basically when things are crap, and you need to start acknowledging it. And the earlier little mini segment with Bray earlier in the night, where he suddenly went, I'm going to show you the most horrifying and disgusting footage or whatever ever known, and it flashes up with the karaoke contest from SmackDown.
Yeah.
And I admit I completely laughed. It completely got me at the time. And then the more and more I thought about it, I was like, no, that's just WWE acknowledging they're putting out a crap product. It's WWE saying, actually, yeah, we are terrible. And it's like, it's fine if it was a one-off segment, but there's too many of those segments now to basically do it. Like, there's only so many karaoke contests, Lashley's sisters, Bailey, This Is Your Life, all of these type of segments. There's only so many you can kind of take before taking the piss out of yourself becomes actually, no, we're just crap. And I didn't like that. In terms of the match, I've mentioned to Wolf earlier about people stealing the moon. Apparently, Bray can steal the moon in the middle of a match because he can turn off lights. We've established he can turn out lights. He managed to turn out the light in the swamp. And in my opinion, that light in the swamp has to be the moon. So Bray found a way of turning off the moon in the middle of a match for it to go pitch black and dark. And so, yeah, he's no longer the eater of the world. He is the eater of the moon. That's what we've established in this match.
He's Gru.
I quite enjoyed the discount jobber Harper and Rowan that appeared in their gear, but was obviously...
Is that what that was?
Yeah, when they were coming out, it had like the jeans and top thing of Harper, and it had like the tracksuit of Rowan on. And I swear, when the big, huge guy came out, I thought it was Dijakovic at first. I was like, oh my God, they're not debuting him like this. I legit thought it was Dijakovic who was attacking the guy who got set on fire. I think this is as far from a swamp fight as humanly possible because it was more of a swamp teleporting conversation they had. There was very, very little fighting actually took place in this match. They got physical like twice. And the whole swamp is also now established that it's in the Hardy compound because Bray basically fell in the water and came back out as the Fiend. So clearly that was the Lake of Reincarnation that they established there. And Braun's now dead. That has to be canon.
Yeah.
Because they both went underwater at the end. A bubble emerged, and then only the Fiend came up. So Braun is dead in canon. There's no other explanation. They have just killed Braun. Braun, if he turns up on SmackDown, there's something wrong because he is dead now.
They'll just have some sort of excuse, like from when Alistair and Ray got thrown off the roof. It's like, oh, there was another. I landed on some other.
Braun landed
platform,
on another.
But I don't know what they're going to come up with. It's like, oh, Bray saved my life.
Hey, what? Don't fix it.
Afterwards.
Braun landed on another roof.
I just want to point out. I just
an air bubble under the lake.
I just want to point out before I go to Wolf, the man that was set on fire actually laughed because he didn't scream in agony like the eye thing. He just went around and was like, ah.
He did a full-on camp runoff. He literally was like, because he ran away.
He's like he got this on fire, right? No scream. He just like the mouth is open. He just like runs away, like strolls along, like skips skips to the back. I don't know. I mean, like if personally, if I was ever set on fire, I would probably be, not that I want to, but I would probably be screaming in pain because I am on fire. Or you can scream like JR when Kane set him on fire back on Raw in 2003, which scared me as a kid, makes me laugh now. Wolf?
Well, the whole King Kong versus Godzilla ending aside of one person drowning and the other swimming away, we knew that they made a whole bunch of other Godzilla movies, so, Braun will be back. Anyway, this match didn't have that what the fuck factor for me. And this is going to be like a stretch and like show how bored I've been lately. But I was watching Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull the other day. Shut up, Pete. Shut up. And they go over 3 waterfalls. The first waterfall is like, I don't know, the final deletion. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like you go down, it's like, rah. Then you go over the second waterfall, it's like something like the Firefly Funhouse or the Boneyard match. Oh my god, this is clearly like the first waterfall, but it's still really intense. And then you get to the third waterfall, it's like, first of all, Harrison Ford, you looked at this script and picked this movie. And second, okay, we get it. It's a waterfall. You're doing weird things. You're filming it. It's not really a novelty anymore. This is basically the same thing as, when New Day came to the compound. It's the Boneyard match, the House of Horrors. It just didn't really feel very what the fuck. It was just kind of like, yeah, okay, we get it. This is the third waterfall. It's weird to say this about a swamp fight, but it was boring. It was just like nothing new, nothing special about it. It's definitely the worst cinematic match they've done so far, not counting Gargano and Ciampa.
No, tag team match with all the ninjas.
Oh,
that wasn't a match.
Yeah, I wouldn't count it as a match.
That was a John Woo movie. But anyway, yeah, I don't really see the point of this. It was boring. It didn't really go deep as I wanted it to. It didn't get as wacky as I wanted it to. It wasn't very out there. It was just kind of, all right, we need a cinematic match on the card. Let's do this one. Like, the Alexa thing sparked a conversation because you never know. For all we know, maybe she is like Sister Abigail. I wouldn't totally mind that booking.
I would.
I'm sure you.
I wouldn't mind it.
That makes sense.
What else is she doing right now?
Being Nikki's partner, having a talk show.
Nikki can be
the best.
By that logic, Conan O'Brien can't be her partner either. But the point is, I wouldn't mind it. The rest of this match was terrible. The Alexa thing was just okay, and that's interesting. They kind of tease it. It pays off a little bit. I mean, I remember that. And they're friends in canon still. Like on Friday, she's like, good luck to my friend Braun Strowman in his match against Bray Wyatt. So, I don't know. This match just fell flat for me, mainly because we've gone to this well too many times.
The other thing I would quickly add is that I think like the volume at times was just wrong and just like the mix was off. Because, like, for example, when they were in the shed together, which admittedly went on way too long, when eventually Alexa Bliss came in. But I could, at times, barely make out what Bray was saying. And I could just hear, like, crickets and all the background noise, and Braun's breathing was just, like, really intense and loud.
That's
and
some good sound mixing right there.
Yeah, it was just, like, the volume mixing was just seemed set wrong at times in the match as well. It just didn't flow as naturally as some of the others. And like as I said, there's been a cinematic match on every single pay-per-view since WrestleMania. And they need to take a break to keep them somewhat special.
But would you count what was the one at Backlash? The greatest match ever?
I count the tag team match.
Oh, right.
I still say that was like a John Woo movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still would say that was still a cinematic thing.
I would probably consider the greatest match ever as like a tape/cinematic match because like the fact that it was cinematic helped it, I think, though. Yeah. Because they were able to like really, I don't know, in my opinion, I would kind of count that as like an in-between, like it was a tape match. Yeah.
Well, let's go now to the main event of the show. Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre. Dolph Ziggler picked the stipulation, which we joked about it last week, or Pete did, somebody did last week, saying how, why don't you just make it essentially where Drew can't win? And Dolph surprisingly got as closest as he possibly could with that. And for the first time, I think in a long time I've been watching WWE, a heel actually picked a stipulation that makes sense. I can have Extreme Rules rules. I can win the title by disqualification. I can win the title by countout. You, on the other hand, you have to compete as if it was a normal wrestling match. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Like, once you heard that, I'm like, thank you. That's the first time a heel actually takes advantage of his status. I mean, the poor guy got Claymore to hell. The guy got Claymore from like New York to Los Angeles. My God. The great thing about Ziggler, I know that I remember like Wolf and I, we spoke about this in a Patron of the Month episode, the first one, when we brought out Dolph Ziggler about Money in the Bank cash-ins, and we're saying like we don't ever see Ziggler back on top again. He's just kind of like that extra, and it still applies today. But man, can you ask that guy if you just say, hey, can you fall off a building, but when you fall up, can you do like 6 flips on the way down? He will give you 6 flips on the way down. He is just that good of a seller. The guy's brilliant, and I mean, it worked. The guy can sell, but he's never going to be back on top. Like, and that's what I hated about this match. Like, it was great. There's a great. I'm happy we got the Extreme Rules portion, as we thought we should have gotten with Ray and Seth. But I mean, we like I said, we halfway got it, but you know, I just hated how predictable it was at the end of the day. You know, like all the odds are against Drew. Like, oh my goodness, this is it. Like, Drew's gonna potentially lose, and of course, again, Ziggler can fly from North America to Europe on a Claymore, right? And so you knew it was coming. Drew wins, retains, and it just makes me mad because it's stuff like this where people start to say, "Oh, Drew's reign is not good because they're putting up against bad opponents." I'm like, well, I mean, while this technically made sense, like storyline wise, I mean, like I don't necessarily say that Drew's a bad champion. It's a bad reign just because of one opponent or two, right? Drew's been fine so far since WrestleMania. I like Drew since WrestleMania. This doesn't, in my opinion, I don't think this clouds his reign. I mean, it's just this one made sense storyline wise, but just because of Ziggler doesn't mean that it's to be alive. I mean, like if Drew was supposed to fight, I don't know, Jey Uso. Okay, sure, maybe, but I mean, I don't know. I try to think. Sure, it'd be new, but I mean, I don't know. I'm
calling for that singles run.
Yeah, sure. Point is, I just wouldn't be quick to judge Drew because Drew is still charismatic. He's still handsome, and he still looks good with that belt. So, he is handsome. Wolf.
Sorry, Pete. I just moved the table again. Well,
doing that before we started taping. Stop it.
Maybe I said sorry. God damn it. Okay, so yeah, you're right. Smart heel picked a really good stipulation, undercut by the fact that he is Dolph Ziggler. I mean, you know, it's like, crap. It's like a James Bond movie. Like you set the trap, but you know he's going to get out of it somehow.
Exactly.
I mean, great. I thought it was a decent match for what it was.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, you know, Dolph Ziggler can work, like, you know, sell a bee sting like a gunshot. And Drew always looks strong as hell. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with his reign. But I don't think that Dolph Ziggler is somebody that anyone besides maybe his parents buy as a champion at this point in his career. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. And on Raw, I appreciated that, you know,
on Instagram.
It doesn't matter what he thinks.
Yeah.
On Raw, I just kind of appreciate how McIntyre was kind of like, "Oh my God, I beat the crap out of you. What do you want? Go away." And I'm like, well, shit. Let me send it to the group chat before you say it, Drew.
They're off.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, come on. You know, Drew McIntyre would be excellent at CinemaSins. Anyway, yeah, but, you know, I don't see this going past Summers. I don't see this going to SummerSlam. I hope that Ziggler is not the SummerSlam opponent. Either way, I didn't hate this match. I just want this feud to be over. Let's move on to somebody else. I don't know. And, yeah.
I think they said 2 weeks on Raw. I don't know if I was.
I hope is.
I think they said 2 weeks. I don't think they're going to drag it.
I have my own. I know everyone's saying that the theory is Randy Orton for SummerSlam, but I'm starting to think that Randy Orton might be facing Christian at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
boy,
but that's a whole
Alex
separate
might be doing
discussion.
with me, all I just want to say is like I said, we had a Patreon exclusive episode. Let's just not jump the gun just yet. I know he's popping up again, but like let's wait till we hear
I'm
something
not saying
official.
it's gonna happen, and I'm not saying we'll discuss it now. I'm just saying, I don't know if Orton is the SummerSlam opponent, but I also don't know who it would be in that case.
Yeah.
I just really hope that it's not Ziggler.
I mean, if I was booking it, it's Brock Lesnar, so we can take the title back. RJ, I'm kidding.
Stop making me get up. Stop making me get up.
I'm kidding. It's Goldberg. RJ,
Respect your king.
RJ,
So-
your thoughts on the match?
So, I've actually watching the match. I actually thought it was fine. The pop up kick up Claymore at the end was sick. Like that caught me off guard pretty good. I was super athletic. It was nice. He sold it like crazy. But thinking back, like here is my gripe with this match. I like the stipulation idea. He's smart to pick the stipulation, but why can't you be smart in using the stipulation? Where's Robert Roode to come out and smack you in the head with a steel chair? Dolph Ziggler's the champion. When he put him through the table on the outside, why are you running into the ring and screaming, why, when he gets back in? Lay on top of him. If you get counted out, it doesn't matter. Like, don't let him get back in the ring. So, I mean, like, it's a smart stipulation, but, like, he just went about it and kind of seemed stupid, in my opinion, at times. It's like, I kind of wanted Dolph to win the match when he had the stipulation picked from him. Like, Dolph shouldn't lose. Like, get somebody out and smack him with a chair. Like, don't look stupid. And obviously, Drew was never going to lose. So, I mean, that was my gripe with the match, is that somebody finally picked the right stipulation. It's just that it had to be Dolph Ziggler, so he wasn't going to win, which is why it didn't really work for me, because, like, you should never lose. Like, get your tag team partner to come out and whack you. You're the champion. Don't run to the other side of the ring and scream, why won't you die, when you could just, like, lay on top of them and not let them get into for the 10 counts. I mean, like, the quality, again, was, like, fine, but the stipulation just, like, it didn't work for me after thinking about it.
To be fair, like Dolph Ziggler to Drew McIntyre is what a sheet of paper is to like a desk, right? I mean, like the weight class. I'm sure, like even if Dolph laid on top of him, Drew would just kind of kick him right back out. But
maybe instead of getting it at 9, it would have taken him 11 seconds to get into the ring. Like extra, like Dolph's like 200 and like whatever 30 pounds or something like that. If someone was laying on top of me and I'm like Drew size, it'll probably take me an extra second to get up. Like, use your brain, Dolph.
Pete, to close us out.
I'm going to talk about Drew's ring very, very quickly. Like,
Sure.
It was. I think the Seth Rollins was a perfect first opponent. I think that would fine. The Bobby Lashley match was well built, and that was good.
Sure.
The Ziggler match, the feud's fine. It should be a one and done. The issue is it's becoming very stereotypical WWE reign, and that is we stack the odds against the champion, and the face champion overcomes the odds. And they've done it time and time again, and it's a little bit played out. And that's nothing to do with Drew, because I think Drew is doing the best he can with that booking. But it is that booking that people, and I can see why people started grinding it, because it's the same thing they do Roman Reigns, it's the same thing they do Braun Strowman, it's the same thing they do any. It's why
a lot of people complain about Kofi. Because from a similar, like, like the traditional overcome the odds. I mean, that was essentially the whole Kofi run to begin with. But you're
very
right.
reminiscent, as in Kofi won the gauntlet match, gets his big WrestleMania moment, and then goes into a feud with Dolph Ziggler. It's very Kofi Kingston.
Should have been me.
I really do wish on Raw he literally did use the bugger off line, which he did, and just go, actually bugger off, and Dolph Ziggler has to trot back the thing, and they actually bring out his SummerSlam opponent instead. That would have been perfect. And I'm a bit worried because at SummerSlam, I feel like Drew's going to pick something that favors him, and then Robert Roode's going to get involved in this match in 2 weeks, and then it's going to be a handicap match at SummerSlam. And that's going to be typical stack the odds, babyface wins again, and it's more of the same. I'm worried that's what they might do. In terms of the match itself, there was a very big point in the match where Dolph just shouted at Drew and went, "Why won't you die?" And that's how I feel about Dolph Ziggler's gimmick for the last 2 years. Just die already. Change, do something.
Do something different, yeah.
Yeah, like the match stipulation was fine. We called the match stipulation in advance. I said, it should be a Heath Slater referee, but what they're actually going to do is Drew can't use the Claymore or Dolph can use weapons. They're going to do one or the other. So basically called that in advance. It was very obvious, stack the odds against champion overcomes. It was too predictable. It was a fine match. The finish was decent, but as I said, it suffered from the predictability of how that match was going to play out. And as soon as Dolph hit the stipulation, you knew exactly how that match was going to play out.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, to put a bow on all this, out of 5, it's good old Uncle Meltzer style, out of 5 stars, Wolf?
1.5.
Pete?
0.75.
Sorry?
You say 0.75?
0.75.
Oh, damn. RJ?
I mean, I guess I liked it a little better than you guys, I guess, a little bit. So I'll say a 2. And also, Dolph should have said, you have to be Dolph Ziggler to win the championship, and then have, like, Drew just legally change his name to Dolph Ziggler. And
Like in Batman and Robin, just pull out the credit card. Oh, I'm actually Dolph Ziggler.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was pretty bad, even though I said I was a little optimistic at the beginning of the show. But it's a 2 or maybe a 1.75.
Can you just imagine if, like RJ says, that your name has to be Dolph Ziggler, and then Drew actually pulls out Dolph Ziggler's credit card, legitimate credit card that says Dolph Ziggler, be like, here you go. 1.5 as well, maybe 1. I mean, if it wasn't for, like, you have to look at more than just match quality, because I know a lot of people just like to look at just the wrestling match quality overall, which a lot of people say that was fine, just the dumb ending. No, throw the dumb ending in there. All right, so a lot of stats.
Yeah,
I was about to give it.
If it was match quality, I would have given it probably just a 2.5.
Exactly, yeah. But I'm looking at
but the booking was atrocious.
Yeah,
Fortunately,
I'm
the match
looking at
had
more.
end.
Yeah, I am looking at a more general approach, and like, or just like decisions are moving forward, and like it's there's more. I don't know. Wrestling fans drive me nuts. But anyways, gentlemen, thank you for another fun Fallout. Of course, so we're going to resume. We're all going to be back, as the next one is a really, really big one, SummerSlam. So it should be highly entertaining. And with that being said, thank you, gentlemen. Let's get to the closing. You made it to the end of the episode, and we just move on from this pay-per-view. You heard it in our star ratings at the end of the discussion. You heard our rants and all, and it's just, there's not much else to say. It was just a bad pay-per-view, and we move on. That's it. Of course, our next predictions is SummerSlam, one of the big 4, and of course, it's always a fun time, SummerSlam, especially because I was there last year, so I know how much fun it is. However, there is a special announcement coming up in regards to SummerSlam, and you're going to want to look out for this. So in a couple weeks, be on guard for patrons only. It's really, really fun, and I can't wait to share it with you all, because we're still in the planning process of this. But yes, be on the lookout, patrons, because there is something big coming for SummerSlam that involves you. And also, in saying that, next week, once again, patrons, the focus is on you, because it is Patron of the Month for the month of July. Submit your topics, anything that you may have suggested in the past, or even if you're just a bit iffy on it, submit it anyways, because it could very well be a very good idea. Or some of your past ideas that you submitted, they were also very good. We want to see you guys active in the chat, so look out for that post. Next week, we will be discussing your topic. And in saying that, thank you so much for watching. Become a patron, help support the podcast, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us here on YouTube. I am Jose Tabuada. We will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Bye.